At 2:41 hours local time, the first explosions tore across the runway of Iran's Tabriz airbase. For a brief moment, the airfield lights flickered through the night as ground crews scrambled between parked aircraft. Then a fireball erupted beside a waiting fighter jet, sending burning debris across the tarmac. Within seconds, the aircraft, an aging F-4 Phantom II, was engulfed in flames before its pilot had even reached the cockpit. That was only the beginning. Across Iran, similar scenes were unfolding. One after another, air bases that had taken decades to build were suddenly erupting in fire. Hangars collapsed under precision strikes. Radar towers shattered. Fuel depots exploded with enough force to shake the ground miles away. Within the first hour of the attack, Iran's Air Force, built slowly over nearly half a century, was already beginning to disappear. But the destruction visible on the runways was only the final stage of an operation that had begun long before the first bomb struck. Hours earlier, deep inside American and Israeli command centers, intelligence feeds were already streaming in. Satellite imagery tracked aircraft parked in hardened shelters. Signals intelligence intercepted Iranian radar emissions. High-altitude surveillance drones quietly mapped every air defense corridor protecting the country's major air bases. Among them were aircraft like the RQ-4 Global Hawk and the armed reconnaissance platform MQ-9 Reaper, both feeding real-time data into strike planning networks. Every radar rotation was analyzed, every missile battery location marked, every runway measured down to the meter. Iran believed its air defense network could detect incoming attacks long before enemy aircraft crossed its borders. But by the time Iranian radar operators began scanning their screens that night, the war had already started. Instead of incoming aircraft tracks, their displays filled with static. Electronic warfare operations had begun. Across multiple frequencies, powerful jamming systems flooded Iranian radar bands with noise. Communication relays between command centers began failing. Data links dropped out. Radar sites struggled to maintain a clear picture of the skies above them. Within minutes, the integrated air defense network that Iran had spent decades assembling was effectively blind. This was the non-kinetic phase of the campaign, an invisible assault designed to confuse, isolate, and paralyze Iranian defenses before a single missile was launched. Only after that digital disruption did the first strike aircraft begin moving toward their targets. Flying low across the region were stealth fighters like the F-35 Lightning II. Their radar-evading profiles allowed them to slip through gaps in Iran's crippled detection network. Behind them, strike aircraft, including the F-15E Strike Eagle and the F/A-18 Super Hornet, prepared to launch the main wave of attacks. Their first targets were not the aircraft themselves. They were the systems protecting them. Surface-to-air missile batteries began exploding across Iran's defensive perimeter. Radar vehicles erupted into fireballs as precision munitions slammed into their positions. Command bunkers responsible for coordinating missile launches were hit within minutes of the attack beginning. Without radar coverage or functioning command links, Iranian air defense crews were left scrambling to launch missiles blindly into the sky. Few even had the chance. With the defensive shield collapsing, the second wave of the operation began. Runways were struck with precision bombs designed to crater landing strips and trap aircraft on the ground. Hardened aircraft shelters were hit moments later. At Tabriz, a parked F-5 Tiger II erupted in flames beside the wreckage of another Phantom that had been preparing for takeoff only minutes earlier. Further south, at other installations across the country, Soviet-era strike aircraft like the Su-22 and interceptors, including the MiG-29, were destroyed before their engines ever started. Iranian pilots who had trained for years to defend their country never even reached the sky. Within the first 24 hours, entire squadrons of aircraft were reduced to burning wreckage scattered across airfields, and the escalation was far from over. With Iran's air defenses collapsing, heavier American bombers soon entered the fight. Earlier in the conflict, stealth bombers like the B-2 Spirit had been used to strike hardened targets and underground facilities. But as confidence grew that Iran's long-range missile defenses were failing, another aircraft began appearing in the skies above the region, the B-1B Lancer. Unlike the stealth-focused B-2, the B-1 could carry massive payloads of conventional bombs designed to devastate large military complexes. With Iranian radar coverage collapsing, these bombers could operate with increasing freedom over parts of the country. When their munitions struck, the results were catastrophic. Fuel depots erupted in towering fireballs. Ammunition bunkers detonated in secondary explosions that rippled across entire bases. Shockwaves rolled across the ground as storage facilities ignited one after another, creating chain reactions that engulfed entire installations. At several locations, the destruction spread beyond aircraft parking areas into the infrastructure needed to keep the Air Force operational. Maintenance hangars burned for hours. Logistics warehouses collapsed. Radar towers lay twisted and shattered across the landscape. Even if Iran had surviving aircraft, many of its air bases were no longer capable of launching them. The result was something military planners rarely achieve so quickly in a conflict: near total air superiority. For Iran's pilots, the consequences were immediate and brutal. Facing advanced American aircraft such as the F-16 Fighting Falcon, the Strike Eagle, and the stealth capabilities of the F-35, attempting to launch from exposed runways would have been little more than a suicide mission. Many never even tried. In the days following the opening strikes, reports suggested that nearly half of Iran's roughly 400 combat aircraft had been destroyed or rendered unusable. Those that remained were largely older platforms, airframes built decades earlier and kept operational only through increasingly difficult maintenance efforts under years of international sanctions. Aircraft like the F-14 Tomcat, once among the most advanced fighters in the world, were now relics struggling to remain operational without access to modern parts or upgrades. Even before the bombing campaign began, analysts estimated that only about half of Iran's aircraft were fully flyable. Many others were grounded permanently, stripped for spare parts to keep the rest of the fleet operational. Now even those remaining aircraft faced a new problem. Their airbases were gone, runways were cratered, radar networks shattered, fuel storage destroyed, command centers offline. Without those systems, launching even a single fighter jet became nearly impossible. But Iran still had one weapon left: drones. As the destruction of its manned air force became clear, Iran began shifting toward unmanned attacks. Waves of drones targeted military installations across the region, striking bases in Gulf countries and attempting to stretch defensive systems across multiple fronts. Yet even this strategy faced enormous challenges. Interceptors and air defense missiles could destroy many of these drones, and production facilities used to build them were themselves becoming targets for follow-on strikes. Meanwhile, American forces possessed drones of their own, capable of reconnaissance, interception, and attack. The imbalance in technology and air power was becoming impossible to ignore. Iran had spent nearly half a century building its air force. Aircraft had been purchased, repaired, modified, and kept flying under increasingly difficult conditions. Pilots had trained for years. Bases had been expanded and fortified. But in a single day of coordinated strikes, combining cyber warfare, electronic warfare, stealth aircraft, precision bombing, and strategic bomber attacks, much of that force had vanished. Runways burned, hangars collapsed, radar screens went dark, and by the time the smoke cleared across the country's shattered air bases, the skies above Iran were no longer contested. For the first time in decades, Iran's air force was effectively gone.